with the business level strategies and the organization structure. So here, whether there is any role of the organization structure in terms of strategy, that is what this point we are going to discuss now. The relationship between the strategy and the organization structure. Now here, the strategy and the structure, they have the reciprocal relationship. It highlights the interconnectedness between these two aspects of strategy formulation and strategy implementation. See, formulation is a different aspect. It deals with planning, while the structure, it deals with the strategy implementation part. Maybe the organization has defined the objectives, or maybe how it's going to achieve these objectives, and what are the strategies to achieve the objectives. But it is the people in the organization, it is a particular department which is going to follow, or maybe one can say the integrated approach of various departments together. They try to achieve these objectives. There may be a single objective or maybe a combination of objectives, a small parts, maybe a main objective is divided into A, B, C, D, or the departments are assigned their tasks, and all of them, they are working towards finalizing the task, which ultimately is related to one outcome, and hence the objective is achieved. So this structure plays a very important role here. Now this inverse or reciprocal relationship, it finds the structure flowing from or following section of the firm strategy. So the structure can influence the strategic actions. Now here, when the firm thinks about designing a particular strategy or implementing a particular strategy, it has also to take into account or understand the influence of the structure, and then it can formulate the strategies in terms of the direction, in terms of verifying the roles and responsibilities of different managers. Now here, this part is very important, because when the managers plan about the strategies, they also need to define the role of a particular manager. Now, each strategy requires a different structure to be framed. It may be on a temporary basis with the flexibility, or a simple project based assignment. Maybe for that assignment only, the structure is formed on a temporary basis for the sake of organizational convenience, or for the sake of managers convenience to achieve those objectives. Maybe many a times the organization may have a well defined structure, but the it's a need of the hour that the strategy necessitates to make the changes in the existing structure, and therefore uh, for the temporary frame, the structure is changed and is confined only to those objectives or till the accomplishment of that task. Once the task is accomplished, again it goes to the previous structure which it was. So here the basic advantage is maybe because of the competitiveness or competitive advantage, the company gets the flexibility, or the company undertakes the flexible approach in terms of defining the structures or changing the structures temporarily. So here, whenever the companies thinks of coming up with the new strategy, they also need to think about the organizational structures. Based upon the strategies, the firm can think of including the major three types of organizational structures, like simple structure, functional structure, and multi-divisional structure. Now here, in terms of the simple structure, it's a structure in which the owner manager makes all major decisions and controls the activities, while the staff serves as an extension of the manager's supervisory authority. So here ultimate decision rests on the owner. The owner is actively involved in business on day-to-day basis. So here one cannot think of having more formal relationships or well-defined rules, regulations, policies in this type of structure. So these are the limitations here. One cannot say it is much more sophisticated in terms of information systems. So here, as and when required by this owner manager, okay, he will change the roles of the people. He may have the informal communications with the employees. He will coordinate with the employees so that uh, the day-to-day activities are simplified. So here this simple structure is mapped with the focus strategies and business level strategies. Maybe a firm may have a single geographic market here, or it is restricted to only one product line, where the firm may be small or large. Irrespective of that, you can take an example of the local restaurants or some of the specialized enterprises where it is a single simple structure. Now here there is no scope for much more complexes, because decision made is by a single person, that is the owner of the firm. No much scope is given to other people. So here one command is followed. Up till the firm is small, okay, for smaller firm it is okay, but as the firm starts expanding the business, okay, it becomes difficult, it becomes more complex, and the structural problems, the roles of the people to be defined starts becoming a necessity. Who will do what has to be defined here, otherwise there is complex when the tasks are repeated, or maybe a person does not know what role he has to play. So here this growth of the firm or additional responsibility of extension may force the firm to change the existing strategy. And even if the strategy remains the same also, the firm's larger size will make it mandatory to accommodate more mechanized or more planned workflows by integrating the mechanisms. So here, in terms of maybe expansion or when the firm is
Green is
thinking,
not given.
including more or moving a step ahead, one cannot think of restricting itself to a simple structure. It moves from simpler to the complex structure. When more people are involved in decision making, then this is the limitation of the from the structural point of view. When the business grows, when the business expands, it becomes difficult for a single person to handle. Hence, it changes from the informal organizational structure to the more formal structure. Now, coming to the next structure is the functional structure. Now, usually the functional structure, it consists of a chief executive officer and a limited corporate staff with the frontline managers in dominant organizational areas such as production, accounting, marketing, research and development, engineering, human resource, IT department, etc. Now, this type of structure gives scope for specialization based upon the functionalities. The different departments are defined, and each and every department is confined to carry out their own responsibilities. So it helps in knowledge sharing for all. Each and every department is responsible for their own key functional areas. So here in this type of structure, one can expect more efficiency, more transparency, and when they come together, it represents a good coordination among all the departments. Now here, the chief executive officer, uh, the task involved here is integrating of the departments or their communication. This is a challenge for the CEO. Individual departments will function, or maybe they take care only of their departments, the people. They will just look out for their tasks. Each and every department here strives to achieve the goals and towards the vision of the organization. So we can say independently these departments work towards the achieving the vision and the mission of the organizational structure, especially in terms of strategic business units. This type of structures are more well defined because these structural units have their own objectives and try to achieve them. Now, when the company wants to change from simple to functional structure, it would like to avoid the value destroying bureaucratic processes, like maybe failing to promote the innovation and enhancing the creativity. The next type is the multi-divisional structure. With the more growth, prosperity, success, the firm thinks of moving ahead by introducing new lines, new product lines, or entering into the new fields, new services. So here the firms go for uh, diversification. Now here it requires a huge amount of data and information about the products, maybe with reference to different geographical markets, with reference to different functioning of the product in various geographical areas. So here it requires more serious coordination and the complexities may rise here. The multi-divisional structure, it consists of operating divisions. Uh, each of it represents a separate profit center, which acts as a separate profit center, in which the top corporate officer, he delegates the responsibility, or the tasks are assigned to this divisional managers. Now here, each of this subunit takes care of their own unit and have their functional hierarchy. Now here, the corporate officers accurately monitor the performance and also control them. It's easy for comparing different strategic units. The performance measurement or assessment of different strategic business units can be compared very easily. Also, hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Also, here the management, the corporate level management, they can assess even the managers also, which division is performing neatly or accurately and which division is not performing up to the mark. So then and there itself, they can think of changing the strategies. They can take the decision at the corporate level itself. It helps firms to manage the diversification very successfully. Now here, one cannot say we had discussed this three, that this one is superior or that one is superior. That is not the question here. But which type of structure suits to which type of strategy? So mapping of the strategy and the structure has to be appropriate. Now moving ahead with the next part is based upon the same point is matches between business level strategies and the functional structure. Now we have seen that different strategies the firm uses, like leadership strategy, cost leadership strategy, the differentiation strategy, and the integration of both these attributes, that is the cost leadership as well as the differentiation strategies. So here the differences in these forms are basically based upon the three important characteristics. First one is the specialization, that is concerned with the type and number of jobs required to complete a particular task. Next is centralization, that is the degree to which the decision making authority, maybe if the managers are given the leverage to take the decisions, or it is like in terms of simple structure where the owner is only having the owners, or he only takes the decision, the others are not given the leverage. Against this, maybe in terms of different functional areas, there these independent departments, they are given the leverage to take their own decisions. In terms of formalization, the degree to which the organization is subjected in terms of implementation of procedures or rules that govern the tasks. Here, the employees have to follow the rules and regulations because it is formalized, it is documented. The procedures or the rules are set, and they are communicated to the people, those who are working in the organization. Now, here, using the functional structure to implement the cost leadership strategy. That is the first point here in the matches between business level strategies and the functional structure. Now, usually the cost leadership strategy. Which type of company goes for the cost leadership strategy? Cost leadership. What do you mean by cost leadership? Now, here, these companies sell large quantities of standardized items to the customers. That's why when the company thinks of having the cost leadership strategy, it implements the simple reporting relationships. Uh, there are very few layers we can say in decision making. The more focus is on processes, implementation of the processes through manufacturing function. Here, more emphasis is not given on the R&D part. Now, this type of structure, it gives rise to low cost culture. Now, in this type of culture, the employees will always try to see to it that uh, the costs are not much incurred. They will try to reduce the extra costs, and mostly they have the centralized decision making authority. It is centralized in terms of maintaining the cost reducing emphasis, maybe manufacturing, marketing, engineering. So each and every department here individually, as the culture is imbibed to go for cost cutting, the emphasis is more on reduction of the costs. The work is divided into homogeneous groups here. The employees, those who have their caliber or those who are specializing in that appropriate task, they are given that work, reducing the costs, because the company does not want to experiment much here. Here it consists of highly formal structured or the procedures or rules as they continue with the centralized staff mechanism. Now, here one can think of example of the Walmart stores where it implements the cost leadership strategy. Now, moving ahead is the using the functional structure to implement the differentiation strategy. Now, functional differentiation strategy where the company thinks of offering something unique through that product to the customers. There are other products, other competitors, okay, but here uh, they would like to differentiate themselves from the others. So one cannot think that the company will offer the standardized goods here when the company sets themselves apart from offering which is out of the box or ongoing trends, the unique features, relatively complex and flexible reporting relationships one can expect here. Also, the um, integration of different functional areas. Maybe you have a product development department as well as the marketing department, R&D department, uh, coming together and working on a project. R&D, that is new product development, and also with the help of marketing. Now here the objective would be to push the new product in the market, to maybe test market it. Here in this type of strategy, one can expect a development oriented culture to evolve. Much scope is given to the employees to work on their innovative ideas. They have the leverage here to explore themselves. Also, continuous product development or customization will keep the managers on toes. The people are always alert as there are uncertainties in the business. The company focuses on exploring the new opportunities. The employees think about the alternative options by which the customer can be gained or the customer can be retained. So we say here decentralized decision making is adapted and people are given the authority to take the decision according to the need of the hour. As the firm thinks of differentiating themselves from the ongoing trend, here the as the decision is decentralized, the individual manager is responsible for the different set of tasks performed under him. As far as the rules and procedures are considered, they are not as stringent as it was in the earlier case. It's less of formalization type. Uh, they follow decentralization type of decision making, authority and responsibility. The next is using the functional structure to implement the integrated cost leadership and differentiation strategy. So here both of the strategies are clubbed together in this. It is the integrated approach where the cost leadership as well as the differentiation strategy, both of them, they come together. Now here, when the firm thinks of integrating both of them, cost leadership as well as different strategy, that means the company is has created rather has created the value by selling the goods. Now here the cost is also at on a lower side, as well as there is reasonable differentiation also made by the manufacturer. Now this is not that easy to implement, as differentiation and cost leadership coming together itself in a product is difficult. It's not that easy. Now here when the company would like to achieve the cost leadership position, it thinks more about the emphasis on cutting the production cost, smoothing the processes, while in terms of differentiated position, the other functions like research and development, the marketing, they are more stressed upon. So here it depends upon the combination of both of them, rather we can say. Now here in this type, the decision making part is partly decentralized and partly it is centralized. Now coming to the matches between the corporate level strategies and the uh, multi-divisional structure. Now here each and every firm thinks of having different product lines or different departments, different companies we can say. When maybe the company thinks that a particular market is saturated and moves ahead for the expansion of the brand with some other product line or some services. So we say it's a diversification. Now, when the company thinks of having more diversification, it also needs to have look at more communicating part, information sharing part, the coordination between different departments and the control problems in terms of functional structures. Now the corporate level strategies, they have variations as far as the product or market diversification is taken into account. Now the diversification itself creates the scope for the need of unique organized structure here to be effectively implemented. Using the cooperative form of the multi-divisional structure to implement the related constraint strategies. Now here the cooperative form, it is a structure where the horizontal integration is used to bring about interdivisional cooperation, interdivisional among the business units. So when there are different divisions, they have their own product lines, and these divisions come together to set a mark or maybe to decide upon the functioning of the businesses. So we say it is at the corporate levels. Now, if you take into account a company like Tata or Reliance, they are into different diversified groups. Now they have their own divisions which are managed separately based upon the fundamental difference in their operations, because maybe your telecommunication services is different, maybe your jewelry business is different, or FMCG category is different. One cannot think of having a mix of everything in this type of strategy. Now, cooperative structure uses various characteristics of the structure, like the centralization, the standardization, the formalization. When the company thinks of integrating to facilitate interdivisional cooperation. Now, the direct contact between the division managers, another integrating mechanism, or it encourages support and cooperation by sharing of the competencies here. The firm stresses more on the matrix organization in such type of scenarios where there is a dual structure combining both the functional as well as the functional specialization and the business product part, so that there is no scope of ambiguity for the others. Now, how the outcome or the better results for this cooperative divisional structure is more important when it is affected by how the divisions process the information basically here. Integrative information processing activities are not a very easy task. There has to be a proper coordination among various divisions and proper allocation of work. Otherwise, many, if the people see that there is bias, they will get demotivated. Next is the using the strategic business unit form of the multi-divisional structure to implement the related linked strategy. Now, those firms which have less constrained links among their divisions, they use the related links for the diversification strategy. Now, the strategic business unit form, it consists of corporate headquarters, the strategic business unit, and the uh, strategic business unit divisions. So here the firms are very large giant corporations. They can be more complex. Each SBO has their own products that is taken care of that by that subunit. Here the CEO or the manager of that strategic business unit is responsible for the performance of that unit. Now they can share it with the corporates also, the basic corporate uh, structure, but the whole responsibility lies on the manager of that particular strategic business unit. They are responsible for day-to-day activities or functioning of their units, and each SBU acts as a profit generation center for the organization, and hence more emphasis is laid on this type of structure. When the companies think of sharing the competencies, then it's like everybody is backed by the support, everybody stands for the others and moves ahead with the project to achieve the common objectives. Here, if the problem arises because of the type of structure, then usually that is the limitation here. The manager has to intervene to check the smooth flow of the things ahead. Now, using the competitive form of multidimensional structures to implement the unrelated diversification strategy. That is when there is uh, non-related diversification. Now here the firm wants to create values by proper capital allocations or defining the role of different departments. Now here the competitive form is the structure characterized by complete independence among the firm's division. They are working independently and they are responsible for their performance. Now here when the strategies are with reference to unrelated diversification strategy, then the alternative arrangements or the arrangements with reference to structures are to be taken into account. The SBO's performance creates the internal competition, which also creates the flexibilities. Maybe different divisions are working on their style. Maybe for some firm gives the emphasis on technology, the other firm gives on the service. They have their own individual independent identity here. But when put across all of them, they get channelized. All of the tasks or skills they come out. When there is the internal competition, the challenges are there. They face the challenges. Now here only the firm's head knows about the resources part or the resource allocation part. The others, they are not much detailed about it. So whenever they feel that the competency is not mapping with the competitor, immediately the top management should be informed and necessary structural changes have to be made. Here the organization controls are used to stress and support internal competition among different divisions. Each and every division has their own role to play. So here more stress is laid on competitiveness rather than cooperation. We have seen that the companies have headquarters with reference to that particular areas. When they come one step down, when they intervene, then the things get sorted out many a times. So here the even the performance assessment of the companies in financial terms is also taken into account when one wants to judge about the performance of that organization. Now here when one thinks or tries to put across the characteristics of structure, there is the centralization of operations for the cooperative M form. It is centralized at the corporate office, and from there the employees receive the particular orders and they have to finish off the tasks. In terms of strategic business unit, where the related it is linked to the strategies, then it is partially centralized. While in case of totally non-diversified companies, it is decentralized to divisions. In terms of cooperative, they extensively use to a larger extent the integration mechanisms, while in terms of strategic business unit related to linked strategy, it's moderate, while in diversified, it is not existent at all, because one cannot have any relation only with reference to any attributes as the companies are diversified. Here the emphasis is also on the divisional performance. The appraisals are carried out with reference to various departments, and through which the managers easily come to know what's going on as far as the performance of the strategic business units is considered. The performance is also linked to the incentives given to the people in the organization. Now, in terms of cooperatives, it is linked to overall corporate performance. While in the case of strategic business unit link strategy, it is mixed linkage. And as far as the undiversified firm is considered, where it does not have scope for diversification, it is linked to divisional performance. Now, coming to the next part is matches between the international strategies and the worldwide structure. This is taken into account when the companies think of moving or crossing the national borders. Again, there it poses the challenges with reference to structures, what structure has to be followed. The international strategies, it gives the scope for the firm to search for new markets, come up with the resources, explore their core competencies and technologies. Now, as the company enters the other nation, one cannot think of having the plans. The company cannot think of having the unique plans applicable to all of the strategies. Here, one nation differs from the other nation, and hence, uh, customized approach has to be used in terms of worldwide structural strategies considered. And the operations have to be controlled globally also. So that is a challenging task for the managers, using the worldwide geographic area structure to implement the multi-domestic strategy, where on the basis of geographical area structure, the businesses are divided and the structures are framed to suit to local tastes, where the government gives preference to the local functioning of businesses, where it does not think of uplifting the foreigners, those who have entered the nations. There are also companies which give more weightage to their own priorities in terms of production processes or type of products also. Now, if we take the example of the Xerox Corporation, it uses such type of world geographic area structures to go ahead with the multi-domestic strategy. When one thinks of having the multi-domestic strategy, it requires less coordination from different countries. They can function better here if coordinated. And hence the formalization is on the lowest side or lower side. And the coordination among the different strategic business units worldwide, their structure is also informal. Now, any doubts here? Now,
No,
using
ma'am.
the worldwide product divisions structure based upon the product, also one can think of having the strategies. Now, here, based upon the functioning of different product lines, the structures are framed. The managers for a single brand will take care of only that brand. They will not shift to other brand. So here the roles are well defined. Confined to the single product only, the manager will look out for that product only. Here, the integration part does not play a role in such type. Again, one can think of using the combination structure. Combination where all of these types, they come together. All of the structures are integrated for better performance of the organization. Now, one can say this is the global matrix design, which combines the local market and the product expertise to develop and respond to the global market. It gives the flexibility, promotion in the flexibility of designing according to the customer requirements here. Now, have you? So, one can think of having different strategies, and these strategies will again give rise to a type of structure also. Whenever the organization thinks of having a particular strategy, moving ahead with a particular strategy, whether the structure, existing structure is feasible or not, is the lookout of the managers. Otherwise, company just plans for the strategies and the structure is not feasible, then it's not possible to achieve the goals or the objectives here. So today we will stop here. In the next session, we will continue the further part.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.